and we'll get started. He said he's on his way, so. How many of you are new to Revit? A few of you. What? You just did a class on it? Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll get started. I guess Scott is supposed to come help me out here. Talking to Kevin. There he is. Round of applause. Yeah. Not to make you feel awkward or anything, but here, you can just sit here and run the computer.
Oh,
yeah? Yeah. My name is David Ronson. This is Scott. We work for Applied Software. We've done like a couple other classes, so that's about all of that I'm going to say. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. The purpose of this class is to kind of getting started in Revit. Setting up a template in Revit is kind of a good way to get your feet wet in Revit. Trying to understand, well, how do I solve colors? Revit doesn't have layers, and we have layers in CAD. We apply color via layers in CAD. Well, you know, how do we go about doing those types of things? So getting started in Revit, a great place is just to go ahead and start trying to tackle the template. Let's see, what do we got here? Class summary, go next. Okay, so there's a couple best practices for templates. Keep it light, just like you would your AutoCAD templates. Don't litter it full of stuff that's not necessary on a project, right? You want to keep things that are going to be true for every project. The title blocks, customize the title block to reduce repeating data entry. So your title blocks are, Revit uses something called bidirectional associativity. So you can make updates to the title block and it'll also show up in other places. Families, keep the families you'll use, get rid of the ones you won't. So purge, there is a purge feature in Revit. Get rid of the walls, okay? You're not going to draw walls. I mean, if you are going to draw walls, you can load in a wall family, okay? From a template standpoint, you can just get rid of stuff like that. Dimensions and annotation types. So open your CAD template, you know, draw a dimension and try to duplicate that dimension in Revit, okay? Do you use tick marks? Do you use arrows? Okay. What text style do you use? Okay, those types of things. So basing that off of your CAD template kind of gives you a good starting point. Annotation tags, create some custom tags. Revit is based on categories instead of layers. So you're going to want to create some tags for, you know, bottom of duct, top of duct, center line of pipe, size, you know, those types of things, okay? Next slide. Schedules. They can be very helpful in finding and manipulating objects in the model. So if you're looking for everything that is level 1 and service chill water, right? You can, in the schedule, create a schedule for that, select it, and then go to highlighted model, and it'll take you to that model, okay? Filters. So filters is how you're going to assign color to your fab parts. So go ahead and create a list of those. Most of you have a standardized naming convention for your services, and you can standardize this list, I think, fairly reasonably. View templates. So Revit is all about views, right? You've got a giant project in one model, and you need to look at it. You need to be able to look at it from the plan view, with or without duct, with or without pipe. You want to turn off the electrical. You want to turn off structural. That's what view templates are for. View templates really expedite setting up your views. Okay. Browser organization. So they've had browser organization for a long time, and I'm not sure which update it is that they added schedules and sheets Any Revit guys know that? I think it was 0.2 or 2018.2, they added the ability to organize your schedules and your sheets. Okay? Next. All right, so this looks complicated, but what this is doing is it's taking advantage of Revit's bidirectional associativity. You can fill out information in the title block, okay? And it shows up on the project parameters. That list you see on the left side is project parameters. And the list you see on the right side are project information that is in every project. So what I'm doing in this template is I'm sourcing that information to fill out the title block. Most of your title block, the name of your title block is a conglomeration of job information, service, sector, level, right? You're pulling all that, it's relative to the name of that sheet, all right? So we can fill out the information in a title block, or you can fill out the information in the parameters on the left side there, okay? Go ahead, next slide. So what I've done is, instead of sitting down and doing this live, I recorded a few videos. So if you hit play on that, and I'll just kind of narrate what I'm doing. So you'll see I'm making a selection of multiple sheets, okay? And I'm going to change the name of multiple sheets at a time. I don't need to go to every single sheet and plug in some information. I can do it for multiples. So I'm putting in some discipline, level information. So it's automatically filling out my title block for me, and it's starting to organize my browser, okay, based on the information I put in. So I put in, that's the name of my template there. Discipline, we'll say HV. So it's going to go down here and fill out that information. So you can create, sheets for every sector of the building, right? And go back and fill them out one at a time, or you can fill them out in mass using this method, okay? What I'm doing there is I'm going back and adding the sector. Since the sector isn't true across multiple sheets, it's true just for those particular sheets. And then I'm going to go into project parameters. I'm showing you the list of kind of how that's being driven is through project parameters. This is the project information. So you can change the information here. This project is Marriott. It's going to update in the title block. And it's going to update not only that title block, it's going to update all the title blocks in the whole project. Okay, so you kind of need to update it in one place, and it's going to iterate itself across everything else. Okay, so I'm also showing you can edit it here. You can click on the title block itself, kind of like you would in CAD. Double click on a title block and edit the parameters. Okay, or you can do it that way. So I can change the project number here as well, and it's going to update in my sheets. I can double click on the sheet, edit it there, change the name of the project in the sheet. So it's going to change the name of in project information, and it's going to iterate itself across, did I say 2018? I got a little bit ahead of myself. It's 2017. All right, and I'm updating the project name, or I'm showing you that the project name updated in project information after I changed it in the title block. Okay, so by taking advantage of project parameters, we can more intelligently and quickly fill out title blocks. Nobody likes doing title blocks, right? Sheet files is the most painstaking point of fabrication. We can do those things quicker. There was something else I want to say. Oh, and the browser organization. So if you set up, and I'm going to get a little video into that later, but your browser will start to automatically populate with that information. All right, families, purging out your families, loading in the ones that are relevant. Load families that are likely to be used on every project, such as, okay, carriers, diffusers. These are carriers and diffusers are things that we, had in Academy P, but those are not supported patterns in Revit, so we need to have families for those elements. So we want to pre-configure those and have them in the template. Diffusers, there's diffusers that are they have to be hosted on a wall, or not on a wall, on a ceiling, right? That's kind of frustrating because you don't always have a ceiling, but you know where your ceiling is. So if you have a template that has hosted diffusers, just do a search around the internet and you'll find some non-hosted diffusers, okay? Carriers, anyway. From a loading standpoint, just a few images, go to Insert, Load Family, Purge. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So go ahead and hit play too. What I wanted to show here was just kind of the method of purging. You can click a check all or check none. I've not found this interface to be all that friendly, so I always check none and then browse to exactly what I want to get rid of. You can do a multiple selection, and it just got rid of it. What else I wanted to show you here was that you can purge fabrication services, so it's not being used. I can use the purge function to get rid of the fabrication service. Okay, you can also get rid of the fabrication service through, settings, the fabrication settings, and move it over. But purge works for that as well. Okay. All right. Next. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I'm loading stuff in. I was just showing you how to load families. You guys know how to load families, all right? Okay. All right, dimensions and annotation types. Build dimensions and annotation types that meet your company's standards. Start with the styles in CAD and duplicate them in Revit. Your annotation types, click on the arrow at the bottom right of the text to edit the type. All right. Best practice in Revit, they want you to, not they, but just general Revit users who've been using it for a long time, they like to put the size of the annotation preceding the purpose of the type. Okay, so if when you place this text, when you print it, it's going to be at 1/2 inch, or when you print it, it's going to be at 1/4 inch or 3/16 or what have you. Putting that information somewhere in that type kind of helps your users know if they got the right type in there, or they need to use a different type depending on the view. Okay. Same with dimension types. Go ahead and hit next and play the video. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of how to place in a piece of pipe here. I'm using the multi-point routing, great new feature. Okay. I'm going to place some text, dimension, picking the center to center. All right. So you can click on the dimension there, click on Edit Type, and from here you can start to manipulate, change the name of the type. If you have you can name it a company, put some company-specific information in there. If not, it's pretty editable. Not everything you did in CAD you can do here, but you can get pretty close. I'm putting an arrow on there. Changing the thickness of the tick marks. Let's see. Oh, when you hit apply, if you have, people always kind of wonder what the difference between apply and OK is. Apply is, it's going to reflect the information in the background as soon as you hit apply. So if you keep the screen off to the side and hit apply, you can usually see what's happening to your type in the background instead of having to hit OK. Changing the width factor of the text, what the offset is. So the offset is the distance away from the line. There's some text background, so if you want to mask, that's what that feature is. Different text fonts. Okay, and you'll notice how things updated after hitting apply. one more update, I believe. So this is the leader. When you drag it away from the section, there you go. You're going to get some kind of a leader line, bringing it back. If you don't want an arc, you can have just a line. You can put on a shoulder length. Okay? Pretty customizable. You can get pretty close to what you're used to seeing in CAD in Revit. All right, I'm putting the text above in line. And okay. All right, I believe, let's see, what am I doing next? Putting on some regular text. So it's kind of a good way to get started is to place the annotation in the model and then kind of click on it, and then you can go to edit type. Makes it a little bit easier to get to. Duplicate, start a new one. Give it a new name. Again, preface it with the size that it's going to get printed at. Give it some color. Change your fonts.
So you can't just start one from scratch then, huh?
You can start one from scratch. You have to. You got to go up there to that little arrow. Okay. So setting those up, matching your company standard, setting up your dimension styles, your text styles. That way, right? I mean, you got to standardize this stuff for your company if you're going to start using Revit. Especially your users. Your users coming out of CAD, this is going to be confusing enough as it is. If they start adding text and styles and dimensions and they don't look like what they're used to seeing, they're going to struggle with it even more. Okay, go ahead next. All right, annotation tags. So annotation tags are real different in Revit than they are in CAD. In CAD, the annotation is actually tied to the part. If you were to pick on a tag in CAD, it actually selects the part too. Okay. Annotation in Revit is using the regular annotation feature for Revit. All right. So if you export the MAJ and open it in CAD, all the annotation is going to stay in Revit. Okay. It's not going to go with it. Okay. So category. So ductwork, pipework, and hangers, they have their own category. Containment, not that many people use containment, but it has its own category. So you have to have a size tag for the ductwork category, right? You have to have a size tag for the pipework category. You have to have a size tag for the hanger category. So you need to have multiple size tags or bottom of elevation tag or service tag depending on the category, okay? Go ahead and hit next and I'll walk you through this. Play. So they use this loaded tags and symbols. So depending on what tag is being looked at for that type is the tag it's going to use when you start placing. So right now it's set to size tag. When I click on tag by category, it's going to start using with that size. Okay. There's no button in here for automatically go to elevation tags or size tags or whatever our other types of tags are. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to add Fabrication service abbreviation to the tag. I can customize the tag. All right, I'm going to load it in the project, take a look at it. That looks pretty good. Let's go back in. I want to add a diameter symbol. Or actually, I'm going to change the colors first, I guess. changing the width factor. All right, you'll see how it changes. So you can customize annotation in Revit a lot more freely than you could in, I think in, what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing the diameter symbol from the settings. I'm going to put that in the tag, in my size tag. Put it in the prefix. Click OK. Load it in the project. Take the mask off. Overwrite. So now I have my diameter, the size, and the service abbreviation in one tag. Okay? So having those pre-set up, obviously increase. Yes, sir?
What's the difference between the save options?
Between the save options?
So one was override parameters and one was just save.
Well, sometimes when you're loading new families in, there's parameters that you don't want to override. And if you click override parameters, it's going to override everything in any instance of that family throughout the project.
Is that
Per family? Yes, just for that one family that I'm loading. And also save your families. So we loaded it into this project, but we didn't save it anywhere on the network. So you're going to want to save your families just like you would save a block or something from CAD. Save it, but don't save it in the default Revit location, because if you ever have a problem with Revit and you have to reinstall or something, it'll get rid of that. So save it on a network drive, cloud source, or something like that. So if ever you have issues, you can just load it back in again. Okay? All right, schedules. Schedules are similar to add report in CAD MEP. It's using, in CAD, you would use tables, right? Schedules are similar to tables. You have to actually put the table on a sheet in order to print it, or you can export it out to a TXT file, okay? So it's similar to reporting, but there's some restrictions, but there are also some other benefits to it. Just like our annotation was per category, your schedules are also per category. So you're going to want to start with category. And then on the left side are your fields. In CAD MEP, we call them print objects. In Revit, I believe they call them fields, same concept. We're going to move them from the left column into the right column. And go ahead and go to the next and hit play. So I'm going to right-click, new schedule, scroll down to the category that I want to create a schedule for, okay? Rename it. It's kind of the name of the report. Click OK. So there are some fields here that are, we can pull the fabrication service name, we can pull like the product information editor, we can pull data from that. What I'm pulling here is what level it's found on, the quantity, the product name. So product name would be pulling from product information editor. A side note on the product information editor, that data is cached into the part. So if you go to the product information editor and make changes, and then reload the configuration, the cached data doesn't get overridden. So just keep that in mind. What I'm doing there is I'm creating headers. What you can do is kind of group them with headers based on, I'm grouping them by level, and I forget what else I was grouping them by. Click OK. All right. So this is what a schedule looks like. Again, having them pre-configured kind of helps the user be able to, this is kind of doubles as a filter function. You can create schedules here in order to find a particular valve, right? Or, a certain selection of ductwork. And then you can do something with it. You can swap it out. These, again, in particular, you have to actually place the schedule on a sheet in order to print it. And you can wrap the schedule, around. If you have like a larger sheet, you can wrap the schedule around. But think of it Revit was basically built for architects initially. So door schedules, wall schedules, those things usually go on a large sheet, right? They're not printed off like what we're used to on a multi-page PDF. So that's kind of the reason why they function the way they function. All right, next one. Any questions on any of this? Feel free to interrupt me. I've got a whole hour here. This is the last class of the day, so you guys are probably aching to get out of here. All right, use filters to predefine your colors by service. Okay. So again, Revit doesn't use layers, and layers are how you got services to have color in CAD, okay? So this is how you're going to get your services to have color in Revit. You're going to use a feature called filters, all right? So not only are you have the ability to add color, okay? You'll notice there's a line there for visibility, so you can turn off and turn on things that fall within my filter information, okay? So filters are applied per view. So you can apply this to level 1, right, plan view, and then go to an elevation view of level 1, and everything's going to be black and white, okay? So keep in mind that Revit is all about views and view manipulation. So you can apply, that's again, and we're going to get to view templates, but I'm going to get ahead of myself. The colors. So Revit uses, RGB, red, green, blue, coloring. AutoCAD used like an index number strategy, and it doesn't translate with that AutoCAD number. So this website, and this is in the handout, has kind of a list to help you figure out what the red, green, blue index is. And go next and play that. All right, I'm going to use the multi-point routing tool, which is pretty cool. All right. Now I want to create a filter. Scroll down to the category. Or I'm sorry, I'm creating filters here. I'm going to create a new filter. I got to name it. What am I going to do with this? I got to name it something. And then I can scroll down to my category. So chill water for anything that is MEP fabrication pipework. And I'm going to go down to fabrication service name, contains. Okay, so some of you guys have, your abbreviations are consistent across all your services. This, I'm using some kind of, all of my chill water services have a standard naming convention. So and they're all the same color. So I can use that information to create a filter. Go into my visibility and graphics. Now I have to actually add that filter to this view. Okay, I created the filter. Now I got to add it to this view. Click OK. Now I can add some color. This is for the lines, so the outline of the pipe. Click apply. You see how it turned blue in the background there? Okay, and they've just added support for this, adding they call it a pattern. It's kind of a surface color, okay? So as you can see, my welds and the kind of got lost. I need to go back. I'm going to take the line color out. I'm going to put that back to black. Okay, now you can see the black lines in there. All right, so this is not a rendered view. This is just a pattern on a surface, or a color on a surface. And here I turned off the center lines. All right, same thing is going to be true for duct. Pretty much what one method works for one category is also going to work for the other categories. I have to create a filter just for that ductwork. Name it. Select the category. It falls under mechanical. It doesn't fall under piping. Okay. Again, I'm going to pick from the service name contains supply. Okay, now I've created the filter. Now I've got to add it to the view. This seems awfully labor intense, and it kind of is. That's why you set this up in a template. Okay.
Is there a way to export those filters and bring them into different?
Yes. All right. So there is a transfer project standards under Manage tab. You transfer them that way. I think there's one for filters, but you can, if you have project your view templates also have the filters in them, so you can transfer them that way as well. Yeah.
It seemed to me as I was playing with that, you had to have your services loaded prior, otherwise you couldn't even select the service name or service type.
No, the filter is based on a category. So the category exists in Revit whether you have any services in there or not. And you notice how I typed in fabrication service name contains, and I literally typed in service name. I didn't hit a drop down to pick from a preloaded list of services. So you can do this without having fabrication services loaded. And I wouldn't recommend having fabrication services loaded in a template. Yeah, no. All right. So again, okay, so we're talking about view templates here. They're predefined view settings that might be used on a project multiple times, okay? So I've got some that I've pre-made, and these will change, and they should be adjusted as you take on Revit projects. Just like your CAD template has grown and been added to and subtracted from over the years. You guys have massaged your CAD templates, I would assume, for a long time. So this is a getting started in Revit. You don't know all the answers ahead of time, and don't feel bad if you need to go back and change things after the fact. Okay, so I've got some pre-set up for elevation. I've got some working ductwork sheet views. So I've got a note here that says, be careful not to over-include the view settings. So on the right-hand side here, you'll see a list of view manipulation tools. Okay, like I said, Revit's all about views. So there's so many different ways to manipulate a view. And you can include these settings in your view template. Okay, on that right side, you'll see it's an include column. All right, so don't over-include things. You're going to force your users are going to get frustrated because they can't change the scale. Well, you can lock them into a 1/4-inch scale. I need an 1/8-inch scale. You have to make a new view template. So don't over-include, but don't under-include. What I'm including are just my filters, my discipline. So if they're going to use the HVAC template, okay, it's going to fall under the mechanical discipline. Okay, so that's a reasonable expectation. All right, go ahead and hit next. Play. So what here I'm doing is I'm going to go to like a section view here. All right. So nothing is has color. I mean, the rise and fall has color, but the pipe, you'll notice there's no filters here, and we just added them into that other view. And that really frustrates CAD users. Why has it got color in this view, and in this view it's black and white? It's crap. It's just really, it's about view manipulation. You got to manipulate the view. So what I'm doing here is I'm applying a view template. This particular view template happens to have similar colors for supply, but again, there's no colors here. I'm going to go to that view template, okay, and apply the view template to this view, okay. So I didn't need to go create the filters. The filters are in my view template, so I applied those filters to the view, all right. So having those pre-set up really can help your users adapt to this concept a lot more easily. Okay, so here I think I'm just showing you that I'm only including certain things. Okay, putting everything under coordination. Under the discipline, I'm just putting it under all. Okay. So there's all my filters in my view template. So whatever's in here, when I apply the view template, it's going to go apply all these colors and settings and visibility and whatnot to the items. Is that the end of that one? You can be dismissed now. No. There's always that one guy. All right, go ahead and hit next. All right, browser organization. So this is something also that's very difficult for CAD users to get used to, is how a project is organized. The whole concept of all these different views, but they're all inside the same model. What's that all about? So what you can do is you already have a folder structure in your network drives, right? Project name, and then you go to, I don't know, some coordination, and then you go to level and service or whatnot. Okay, so it's kind of similar concept, not necessarily in that same sequence, but it can be customized. So let's see. So that's going to help your Revit users if they get used to seeing that similar structure over and over and over again. They'll start to adapt to it a lot easier. It's really frustrating when you get a model from a mechanical contractor or something, and all these question marks. What the heck is a question mark? A view cannot be a question mark. That's really frustrating to CAD users. So it takes some little bit of education and getting used to on why those things happen. So what I'm saying here is take advantage of shared parameters in order to create additional grouping and sorting options. Okay, so you can create a list of shared parameters. So what I've done is I've created a list of shared parameters in order to help the view purpose. You'll see on the right side there's view purpose, system trade, project level, view type. So I'm using those custom shared parameters in my template, and your template you can set these up any way you want to organize this tree in a structure that makes sense to your workflow. All right, go ahead and hit next. And the same thing is true for schedules and sheets. You know how we filled out the title block and the bi-directional associativity, things were jumping around. As you fill information out, you can take advantage of those to organize your sheets, okay? And I was organizing them by discipline, so all my HV, AC stuff had its own category, and then by level. So from a user standpoint, you can go to HVAC and then go to level 5, and there's my sheets, okay? Prior to this, it was just kind of a mess. I mean, you have this giant list of sheets that you scroll through. It takes forever to get to. So that's a really great, handy feature. Go ahead and hit next. And I think I'm going to walk you through that here. Go ahead and hit play. Are we running out of time? Oh, we got time, right? All right. We can't drink in this class, can we? So if you look at the bottom here, these are my custom parameters, and I've put them in project parameters and modifying them. They're based on views, okay, the category of views. So as I change something, they'll automatically start to reorganize themselves. I'm going to changing the view purpose here. And if you look at the tree here, as it'll change. Okay. We got AU 2018, mechanical level, David's class. All right. So there's a standard naming convention there that you'd have to implement for your users. What's the appropriate naming of this view? Because they will be all using the same Revit file. So there's some standard, some standard naming conventions that you have to implement. Project parameters, right? There's a restriction there. You create the shared parameter and then you use the shared parameter in the project parameters. You kind of have to do both. And then here are what am I doing here? Browser organization for I'm just showing you how I created one for Applied Software's Fabrication template. And then this is how you would create one for your schedules. So you'll notice my schedules are grouped, makes them easier to find, arranging them by category. Same thing with sheets. So sheets is going to take advantage of the parameters that are in the template by discipline, by level. Okay? Makes them easier to find for your users. Okay, so I'm pointing out that the shared parameters, this is information that we filled out at the beginning of the class, and that's based on sheets category. And you can save it. You can also change your browser organization. You can have multiple browser organizations. If you want to have it by level for one instance, and then for some other instance you want to have it by trade, and then you want to have it by sector. You can temporarily change it so you can find things a lot faster. So you can have multiple browser organizations and just use them as you need them. You're not glued to that one organization. Okay? All right. That wraps it up. Any questions? Comments? Sir, that guy. Yes, sir. You use the views from what? From the design model. You use the views. Okay. Pull the views? Okay. I don't have a quick answer for you. I would think that you could. Is there? Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to give you the wrong answer, quite frankly. You can follow up with me and I can figure it out for you, but I don't. I kind of question the workflow there of using the design model to actually fabricate, because it's going to have a bunch of views and settings and stuff that your users, I'm looking at it also from migrating CAD users into Revit. So maybe if you already have staff that's used to Revit and they kind of get it, it might be okay. But moving guys from CAD into Revit, that whole the browser and stuff coming from the engineer, and it's different from depending on who you get it from. Can really confuse them. So I would be inclined to get the model into your template, at least starting off.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm just trying to, a lot of times our field guys want the same, get on their jobs
Yeah.
and trying to get them to what's broken apart.
Right. And I was just speaking with someone earlier, and they're doing it the other way. They're bringing their view templates, their standards into the design model. So they've created the template, but they're opening the design model and importing everything into there, and then deleting all the views from the design model and starting from inside the design model instead. I think you kind of need someone who really knows what they're doing in order to manage that process. Any other questions? I take nasty remarks too, if you want. You got a nasty remark? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
When using the purge function,
Yeah.
will it keep you from purging families that are inserted into the model?
Right. Yeah.
I noticed you did it on the Blink project.
Uh-huh. Because I want to purge out anything from my template that I'm not going to use, and I'm never going to use walls, so I'm going to get them out. That's kind of what I'm saying. But if you have an instance of that family in the model, it's not going to be valid for purge. Kind of like you would in CAD. There's an instance in the model. Yes.
Okay, on that note, what's the difference from purging it and just deleting it from the group, from your template?
You can just delete it.
So there's no difference?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
The purge function is just it's quickly finding things that aren't being used in the model, making it available to delete it.
It's still loaded, right? It's still loaded into the project.
What is still loaded?
The item you deleted. Say you deleted an item.
If you delete it out of the list of families in the...
Oh, okay. Versus deleting the item inside the.
Oh, if you're deleting it out of the model, it's still loaded in the family, yes. I'm sorry if I've misunderstood. Okay, deleting it from the tree of families is going to delete it out of the file, yeah. It's kind of like deleting a block. I mean, you can delete a block.
I just didn't know if they did kind of two different things,
I don't believe so.
more than the other screwed up things.
Well, you can't delete if you're using if this wall style is using a different family, it's including things in it. You have to purge multiple times in Revit, just like you have to purge multiple times in CAD in order to actually get everything. But you've got to be careful about purging too, because you don't want to purge everything. I mean, you kind of need to have a base point. You're going to purge all your textiles. Well, now you got to start over. So I'm being more selective about what I'm purging from the get-go. Yeah?
I've heard when you're changing your font,
Huh?
that you don't really want to go away from Arial.
Okay.
Because it can kind of just cause problems throughout all of Revit.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? Have you experienced that? Or?
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. That's what you've heard, or that's your experience?
That's kind of what I've been told, and as I've tried to go through it, I've kind of agreed with that.
Okay. I don't have a problem with Arial or any, everybody likes to make their model somewhat customized to their company standards. All right, that's a wrap then. You're dismissed. Thank you for enjoying the class. Not enjoying, participating.